Jain Zar, the Storm of Silence, is the Phoenix Lord and founder of the craft world Eldari's Howling Banshees Aspect Warriors. Asurman, the Hand of Asur, was the first of the Asurani Phoenix Lords, and it was he who founded the first of the Aspect Shrines, the Shrine of Asur, and trained the other Exarchs who would become the first of the other Aspect's Phoenix Lords. Prior to the fall of the Eldari, Asurman was the Eldari who led the craft worlds away from the ancient homeworlds of the now lost Eldari interstellar empire, and it was he who founded the first of the Aspect Warrior Shrines, the Shrine of Asur, upon a barren world of the same name his people initially settled. Asurman found that he could not give up the path of the warrior to follow a different Asurani path, for he desired to use his skills to protect what remained of his species after the birth of the Chaos God Slaanesh, she who thirsts. From the Shrine of Asur sprang the first Aspect Warriors, and the path of the warrior was opened for the very first time to all Eldari. In the time after the fall of the Eldari, Jain Zar was the first warrior of her race chosen to serve at the side of Asurman, and the first to become an Exarch. Those Eldari who can never leave the path of the warrior, for they can never take off the war mask of Cain. Formerly an orphan who had become a Hecatari on the Eldari world of Idefaren named Farathil, she was saved by Asurman, then known as Iliathin, after he helped her fend off her former masters among the Drakari when she defected. After renaming themselves, they moved and settled on a world named Asur, where Jain Zar would become Asurman's first disciple. Jain Zar became a passionate Eldari sword maiden, famed for her speed and ferocity. She and her brothers in arms learned well at the feet of their master, and in their turn they assumed the mantle of the Asuria, the children of Asurman, spreading their own teachings across the stars and founding the shrines of the warrior aspects. It was during this time that the first aspects were formalized, taking as a model the specialities of their founders. Those Eldari who wanted to follow this new path learned at the feet of their new master, and in turn they assumed the mantle of Exarchs before spreading throughout the galaxy. Great shrines were built on the craft worlds as they took to deep space, so the skills of the Asuria could be conserved for all time. Once her training was complete, Jain Zar travelled the webway extensively, perfecting the abilities of her devotees and leading ever more Eldari along the warrior path. Soon enough, there were shrines practicing her arts on every major craft world, shrines that she still frequents to this day, nurturing her spiritual descendants. Of all the Phoenix Lords, Jain Zar remains the most devoted to the shrines of the warrior aspects throughout the craft worlds. An acrobat at heart, like the Harlequins, Jain Zar, which translates into Low Gothic from the ancient Eldari lexicon as the Storm of Silence, is the fastest of all the Phoenix Lords, save for Baharoth, the Phoenix Lord of the Swooping Hawks. Jain Zar's astonishing swiftness and mercurial temperament are echoed by her Howling Banshee daughters, and it was she who first perfected the scream that steals. Through the psychosonic barrage that emanates from her mask, can not only stun the foe, but liquefy their brains in the process. The Storm of Silence is the most active of all the Phoenix Lords in the war against the forces of the Great Enemy. She has led hundreds of Howling Banshees to war on countless occasions, even mustering them from several craft worlds at once should she deem it necessary. She still travels the labyrinthine corridors of the webway, spreading her particular martial knowledge to all but the most remote of the Eldari craft worlds. Although she might disappear for standard centuries at a time, she always returns, and her shrines maintain a constant vigil for their deadly mistress. In 838 M41, in the campaign that became known as the Pyre of Kiliak's Bane, Imperial Xenologists began to plunder buried Eldari artifacts on the maiden world of Kiliak, bringing about a devastating retaliatory assault from the nearby craft worlds of Baeltan and Ulthwé. A sighting of the Phoenix Lord of Jain Zar, accompanied by 100 of her Howling Banshee disciples, was confirmed before the entire Imperial force was slaughtered and incinerated, their ashes scattered to the winds in retribution for their assault upon the Eldari's lost patrimony. Jain Zar, the Storm of Silence, carries a number of interesting wargear pieces. Firstly, the Phoenix Armour. The legendary Phoenix Lords wear ancient, invaluable aspect armour so finely wrought it is proof against almost any weapon. Jain Zar also wears the Mask of Jain Zar, the first and greatest of all Howling Banshee masks. This artifact has the power to turn its wearer's warcry into a devastating barrage that robs the mind of all of those who hear it. She also carries the Zai Moren, known as the Blade of Destruction. In the Eldari lexicon, this long and elegant polearm was made in the distant past, yet retains much of its original power. It is amongst the most potent of blades to survive from the time of the fall, yet it is light and easy to wield with blurring speed. She also carries Janus Mor, known as the Silent Death in the Eldari lexicon. This triple-bladed throwing weapon possesses sharpened edges that were forged in the anti-flame of the warp. Black fire licks around its keen surfaces as the Silent Death describes an elegant loop through the air, leaving decapitated bodies in its wake before returning to its mistress.